Can you believe that this paper of jumbled lines turned into this? I know, it's magic. Hello friends, and welcome to Enchanted Rose Costumes. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you my process for enlarging the original pattern from the 1895 magazine, and then I'll be showing you the innards of my costume. This is made from an original pattern from the May edition of Der Bazaar from 1895. And I will link where I found it down below if you want to try the pattern out for yourself. Now the pattern is one of those crazy spaghetti patterns where there are roughly 50 different pattern pieces on one page that you have to decipher by following dotted or dashed lines that are sometimes nearly impossible to see. First things first, I printed off a small version of the pattern so I could find the pieces and then trace around them with a colored felt so I could see what I was looking for. Now, along the sides of the page, there is usually a pattern guide that lists the pieces you need to find for the project that you want to make. And next to that is the number you need to find on the page of patterns to indicate where to start looking for the pattern in the jumbled lines. So after finding all the numbers and then the pattern pieces, it comes time to transfer them to a separate piece of paper. Now at this point, I definitely recommend using either a tracing paper or this medical paper. I found this on Amazon and I will leave the link for it down below. Anyways, it just makes it a lot easier to kind of see the pattern through the paper because this is semi-translucent. So depends on what you like to use, but I like this stuff because it's great. The majority of these pieces can be traced off and voila, you magically have a pattern now. But in some cases, there are pieces that are folded back in on themselves that you have to rearrange the paper to trace them off, or they have tiny little arrows, which sometimes you don't see, that indicate that the pattern needs to continue on past the page to the desired length. Took me longer than I care to admit to figure that one out. Now, I really lucked out with this pattern, and other than adding more height to the back of the swim costume bloomers to make room for my tuchus, it was almost spot on for fit. For the blouse portion of the swimsuit, it is quite big, so I'm gonna take up the shoulders and I think that'll help a lot. The armhole is quite low, but I think taking up the shoulders will definitely make that better. After all that, it is time to follow the instructions to put this thing together. Did I mention these instructions were also written in Fractor? Because it's in Fractor. So after several failed attempts trying to translate the Fractor into English, which I think according to Google is a type of Latin typeface or some other thing, I shared my woes on Yield Instagram, and lo and behold, one of my amazing followers offered to translate it for me. Thank you! So that is my instructions, I suppose, on how to enlarge the pattern. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Alrighty, so first up are the bloomers. They are fairly straightforward. It's just a gathered cuff. The way I did the cuff is I sewed it the same way I did the ruffles on my petticoat. So the wrong sides are sewn together, the raw edges on the outside, and then covered by the ribbon. Now this is just a plain grosgrain ribbon, polyester, not one of the cotton ones. Works, and it gives the appearance that I was looking for. It has 3 buttons down the side, and then on the opposite side, I added a pocket so I could carry my phone and room key when I was at costume college. I don't know of any extants that have a pocket in them, but it was very handy for me to carry my room key and my phone and just keep everything nice and tidy while I was at costume college. The inside is all finished with French seams. The fronts are pleated up. So this one has 6 pleats in the front, and this has 8 pleats in the back. And so that just brings everything in nicely. Around the bottom, it is just a 1/2 inch wide double fold bias tape that I use to cover the raw edges. So yeah, the majority of the raw edges are either covered in the bias tape or they are covered in French seams, as I found that was the cleanest way to finish them. Next up is the top of the swim costume. The collar is folded back. You cannot see the 4 black buttons I added here. I did make the skirt quite a bit longer for this. In the pattern, it looks like it only goes down to her upper thigh, and mine goes down to almost my knees. I don't have the embroidered anchor on the lapel. That is something that I still plan on adding, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I have so many other projects. So the bias tape goes all around the edges. Now, when finishing this, the shoulder and side seams are both done with French seams. This, I just sewed it on quickly. So I haven't finished this. This is a raw edge around the sleeves. I do plan on folding this under and felling it. For the inside, the way I sewed this, so I sewed it with the right and wrong side together for the inside of the collar, and then I sewed it with the right sides together for the outside of the collar, as the collar is double layered. And so that way, when I finish sewing it together, I could finish off the edges by just putting the bias tape around the edge. So it's an interesting way of doing things, but it gives me a nice clean finish on the inside of the collar. I don't have to worry about raw edges, and all the raw edges are hidden inside the 2 layers of the back collar. So I like how I did that. And then, yeah, the sleeves are just a tulip sleeve, which looks very similar to the little girl in the photo. So for that, there's nothing really else to share. I guess for buttons, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 buttons down the front. I decided to go with a more decorative button along the center front, just because I felt it had more of a nautical feel. I like the little stars that I had here. So that is that. And finally, we have the belt. Now, this is not pretty. I really need to remake this. I don't like how wide the bias tape is on this belt. It's a very bold choice, but I ideally would like to remake the belt or put a thinner bias tape on the belt. It was mad rush. So yeah, this isn't pretty, but from far away it looks fine. Oh, look at that. I didn't even catch that there. It's so bad. Oh, see, these are the things you guys don't see on some of my projects. You guys see a lot of the pretty stitching, and for the most part, my projects, I do like to finish them nicely. But if I'm in a rush to get something done, I can do a hack job on it, and you guys never know. People don't see the mistakes unless you put it out there for people to see. So I am airing my issues with this so you can see that all the projects that I do, not all of them come out perfectly. You know what? I think it is good to show off our rough projects so people see that we are not all perfect at everything. Because believe me, I am not a perfect seamstress, and I think that's all I'm going to say about the belt. To test out this swimsuit today because I know many of you are probably going to be wondering, how swimmable is this thing? So I have the lovely river behind me and time to test this out. I did feel some dread while swimming, but it is completely swimmable, and I did not drown. So yeah, I definitely appreciate the modesty that comes with the Victorian swimsuit, and yeah, we'll see if this makes a reappearance in my wardrobe later this summer. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Before I forget, because I know someone is always going to ask about it, the material used for this costume is a serge blend. Wool serge was quite popular for swim outfits, and so I found this at one of my local fabric stores, which isn't a wool serge, but it's a serge blend. Also, for anyone who's wondering, there are tons of different patterns that you can find on that website that you can enlarge using the same techniques I used on this. So definitely worth a try if you are looking for free historical patterns. I linked that down below. That has the magazine that I found this on, and I hope it is helpful to you. And I hope you enjoyed this project because I had a lot of fun with it. So that is all for today, and I will see you next time. Bye! Still finding loose threads. 1980s. Can I just hide behind my mannequin until they leave? Why are you staring at me? And they're gone. Okay. My pattern box is up there. I can't reach that. I think this has my historical patterns in it. Whoa! I got it!